Rolling.
Renegades.
Andre and I had this big idea.
Growing.
I had to have the people who didn't believe in me.
Between one day and the next, everything changed.
Nurses know how to solve shit.
Renegade. The first time Antra and I recorded a podcast, I have this chair outside that's like, we got it from Target. It's like this, it's like a big, it looks like a big nest. And we had one microphone and we were both huddled in front of the microphone. And since we didn't really know anyone yet and we're kind of shy about reaching out to people, we thought a good way to start a podcast was to interview each other. So, but we had no idea. I mean, I still don't have much idea how to work anything like that, but it's just fun. And I learned stuff about her. She's my best friend and I learned stuff about her. She's like, I remember her, she said, well, I did a lot of drugs in high school and and I figured either I could do drugs and wait tables or go into the Navy. So I chose the Navy. Yay me. Yeah. So what's the informal introduction? Like if you have a client, what do you like if Wendy was recommending you to somebody, what would she say about you?
That I'm coming from outside the medical system and that I learned everything the hard way and I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And I can just cut through all the crap and tell you, like, just do this. And for a lot of people, they've just never even come into contact with that. They're just, the first thing they do is call a doctor and the doctor can't help them. So I have to explain, look, doctors just aren't trained in this.
Yeah.
And here's all the alternative ways that you can get healthy and stay out of the doctor's office. So I just try to keep people out of the doctor's office. That's my goal.
That's a great goal. So reverse engineering. Why do you know so much? How did how did you get into it? You said I just figure things out for myself. Why did you have to figure things out for yourself?
I think I've always been interested in nutrition. I've studied it for 20 years and I fell into all the wrong rabbit holes. I was a vegan for a while. It almost killed me. I've tried everything and I've always just had a passion for it, even though I've not had much formal training at all. So it's just reading books and listening to podcasts and trying stuff and figuring out that didn't work. Why didn't it work? Oh, I missed this little tiny detail and that changed everything.
Wow. And you had a lot of reason to know a lot about nutrition and to be healthy. Tell everybody about kind of what your why it was important for you to fuel your body right.
Yeah, I joined the Army when I was 22 and I had never really done much in the way of sports. And about 3 years into the Army, I had never run more than 6 miles. And my first sergeant said to me, "You want to run a marathon this weekend?" That's 26 miles. And I said, okay. So 4 days later, we went and ran a marathon. And I think it took us 7 hours. It was in Germany. It was more of a walking, running trail marathon, but we finished. And I think I did another one a month later. We just loved it. And we could go out in the German countryside and get fresh air and sunshine. And and then I've run.
What did you love about it? I used to love running too. And you know, there's so many things I'm curious about. You make me want to be a better person just looking at you. But what I used to love running, and then I was training for a half marathon, tore my hamstring, and then ever since then I've had pain running. But I used to when I was in shape. But I'm not saying you weren't in shape. You were the Army. You have to be. But going from never running more than 6 miles to just the next weekend walk running 26, but still, and then wanting to do it another month later. What did you love about that?
I think my background had something to do with that. I have a background of abuse and I don't talk about it much and I don't let it interfere with my life. But I think I came out of the womb knowing that I needed to take care of myself and that I needed to do what I needed to do without relying on anyone. And that's just been my background. And so I don't quit things. If I say I'm going to do something, I will I will finish it probably faster than I believe I can. So running was just a way of showing the world, like, hey, look at me. Like, you didn't notice me back then. You're seeing me now, and look how much I can accomplish when you couldn't see me before. So that
It sounds like figuring things out for yourself, for your snowflake of a genome, and especially the unique way that you started out in the world has just kind of been a theme for everything you do.
Yeah, extreme athletes, I think if you looked at their background and they were honest, there would be a lot of either abuse or trauma because they're running away from something and they're finding an outlet. And that outlet is a safer way than drugs or alcohol or, turning to, the same life of abuse that you had or whatever. It's an outlet, and I mean, goodness, all the good things about it is you're outside, you're getting fresh air, you're getting sunshine, you're getting a tan, you're getting ultraviolet light and UV rays and infrared light. And those things are more and more important. The more I read about just being outside and getting sunshine, you can feed yourself just with sunshine, right?
Oh my gosh, Jack Cruz, is it Krause or Cruz? Oh my gosh, his stuff.
Yeah.
Look, I'm only wearing these glasses for the podcast, and I'm hoping that you can help me not need glasses anymore. But really, they make you look really cool.
Yeah, my husband hates it when I put on. Oh, yeah, I've got mine here. They're terrible. But when I wear them at night, I feel better and I sleep better.
Sticking a pin in what you said, you think that extreme athletes, if you really asked a lot of them, that a high percentage of them would have trauma and abuse in their backgrounds and they're running away from something. And there's a dark and a light to everything, right? The light of it is that instead of buying a bag of cocaine, they're accessing the internal pharmacy that they have.
Yeah. And it's an outlet, and it's a very healthy outlet. But what drives me to run 100 miles, to be running at 3 a.m. after I've already been running for 16 hours? I've never been able to answer that until the last couple of years. And then things started to just make more sense. And I was like, oh yeah, I am totally running away. And I've changed the way I exercise. I don't think I need to run another 100-miler. I think I've answered some things for myself so I can run and enjoy it, but not run to like destroy myself.
Wow. So do you think when you had that realization, like when you became the witness of yourself, pushing yourself so hard and training so hard for these ultra marathons and things like that, when you became the witness of what you were doing, did it change the first thing I was going to say, did it change how much you loved it?
Oh, I still love running, but now I understand the reasons behind why I started. And so I don't have to run to kill myself. I can just run because it's fun. And it's more fun now because now I can run when I'm healthy and I can feel good. And I don't have those runs where I just feel tired and exhausted, but I still do it. So now I just wait until I feel good and then I go and then I have a great time.
I love that. That's very, I call it my puddle of snot and tears moment. I don't know if we've ever talked about it before. My, collapsed in a puddle of snot and tears on the floor of my master bedroom closet. And I had tried so many different things. I mean, athletic wise, I was a gymnast since the age of 4, but whether it was athletics or, metaphysical stuff or, researching, always trying to fix myself, like meditating like a motherfucker, like just get me. It was like almost an escape, like get me out of here. Maybe I can ascend. Maybe if I won't like feel like shit all the time, if I can get enlightened, it was always running away. And then after that moment, I got better. Like, I was so sick and 3 weeks, nothing in my reality changed, but everything changed. And I threw everything out, like all of the, the the shamanism courses and the flower essence therapy, like everything I could get my hands on. And then got so confusing. It's like, well, if there's no God, all kinds of religion and spirituality things. Well, if I'm God, then who do I pray to? Like, is it the grandmothers and grandfathers of the four directions, or is it the ascended masters, or who is it? Like, just give me somebody to pray to. And after that, it was just like peaceful. It was like I felt like I saw what I was doing. Like you saw that you were running away. I was using all this stuff to try to fix myself or get off the planet. And then over the last kind of 10 years, I realized I threw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, if I'm okay how I am and who I am, then how good can it get? And so I started bringing in meditation again and, research. And just because I'm a total geek and I like to now see how things work instead of see how I can fix myself. Does any of that resonate? I mean, when you said, now I can just go for a run and really feel good and enjoy myself, that totally landed with me. But for me, it's like 10,000 things. And for you, it's like running. But actually, it's not just running. It's you're down rabbit holes and really helping people. Like you found it for yourself, and now you're really helping people with your geekery.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 10 years running away from God, thinking he was angry at me. And I realized that it's completely backwards. Like, I was angry because I didn't have a good father figure. And so I couldn't imagine God because I didn't have a good father figure. But then I realized that and said, oh, like God's just been waiting for me the entire time. And he's like, oh, welcome back. Thanks. But I used extreme sports and nutrition as a way to just see how far I could push my body. So I was a Red Bull paraglider pilot for a while.
What's that?
So paragliding, right?
Yeah. Red Bull, like the company.
Like the company, yeah. So I did a big race in Europe 10 years ago almost. So paragliding races are just invisible circles in the air, and you just launch off a mountain, fly until you find and circle, check the box, go to the next circle. So you're always like trying to find rising air to get to the next place, and then you sink down and find some more rising air. It's very stressful because you're flying in and out of valleys and over mountains, and there's never certainty about if you're going to have a place to land when you fly over the next ridge. I spent a couple of years training for that big race, and the race was 11 days long, and I hiked 300 miles and I flew 500 miles in 11 days. And then I slept a couple hours every night. And my husband followed me around in a motorhome and fed me and changed clothes and gave me a place to sleep occasionally.
Oh my gosh, you're like David Goggins with ovaries.
Yeah,
you are. You're like like I'm starting to feel so insecure just listening to that. But it sounds like
well,
like a blast.
I did a lot of adventure racing in England and Europe. So that's adventure racing is you have a team of 4 usually, and you have bicycles, hiking, running, kayaking, canoeing, canyoneering, whatever the race director feels like. So my longest race was 5 days. It was 99 hours in Scotland. And then you'd go run 100K, and then you'd get your bike and you'd ride 100K or whatever the distance was. And then you'd sleep if you had to, and you'd come in and canoe down the loch and get your bike again and go biking. So it was just everything I could find to push myself as hard as I could to see if I had a limit. And quite honestly, I never found the limit. I never found a race that I couldn't finish. And
is that what you were looking for?
I think somehow to find some reason why my body couldn't keep going. And I never found that. Maybe I was looking for something bigger than myself, right? To say I'm not enough, I need something else. And in exercise, I didn't find that.
Are you looking for it? Do you find yourself looking for it in other things, or is the circle complete after
I
you found
think
God
I've,
again?
I've done a lot of work in the last 3 years to deal with the limits of my mind. And I think that has helped me more than anything to realize like my mind is not enough. I need something outside of that. And that for me is God, right? Like something bigger than myself. But it's been a journey
What
to
do you
say.
what do you do to find him, to feel him, like in your day to day when you saw that it wasn't going to be at the end of a race?
The biggest change, and it's really interesting, is I'm just getting, I've just gotten certified in the emotion code and the body code, which is asking your own subconscious mind for the answers to why your health problems exist. And the brain's a binary computer, right? We can ask it yes and no questions, and we can make those like very sophisticated yes and no questions. And there's apps out there with 1,000 different possibilities. So you just ask yes or no. Is this an issue? No. Is this an issue? Do I have that? Do I have this? But in that process, part of it was asking the creator, asking the higher power that you believe in to help you with your diagnosis. So before every client now, I say, I'm going to take 10 seconds of silence and say a prayer and ask God for the ability to help you. And like they teach you, like, I just work here. That's my answer. Like, this is not me finding answers. This is your brain telling me through like a higher power what's going on. And so that process, like I have to pray before every client. And that's always been a tough thing for me to talk about it, but it gives
What,
me like,
praying?
yeah, just knowing that something is bigger than me out there. And so, I want to, I have good intentions, but do I actually do it? Not as much as I think I should, but this process now makes it easier for me to say in front of clients, hey, let me just take some silence and connect, because like it's not me doing this. It's a higher power helping me to help you. So that's been great. Yeah.
And did you seek out the emotion code or did it find you?
It found me. Yeah.
Can you
I
talk
went
about
to
that?
I went to a health conference about 2024, like middle of 2024, and they demoed that you can demo all sorts of things there, right? So they demoed something on me, and I went back to my hotel room, and I had the best sleep of my life. And I came back the next morning to this booth where it was an energy demo of polarity and scalar energy. And I said, I don't know what this is, but I want it. And so I bought it, and now I can use it with my clients. But that process led me to muscle testing, and muscle testing led me to the emotion code. And it's opened up a whole new world. And it's not where I thought I was going. I mean, I'd rather talk about pooping and micronutrients, right? Because that is a very normal topic for me that I talk about with all my clients. But to say, hey, let me muscle test you and ask your subconscious mind what's going on, like that is not where I thought I would be going at all. But it's fun. I have a great time with it, and it helps. People walk away a half an hour after a session and they go, my back pain's better. My ankle doesn't hurt anymore. Great. Like, that's amazing. What else can do that for you?
Two things that I want to kind of dig a little deeper in that. So you center yourself, you pray, and you're asking a higher power to help you facilitate the person in front of you's health, basically, to whatever they're seeking, you help to facilitate that.
Yeah.
And you spoke about levels of discernment, kind of yes, no. So, and did it start with muscle testing or something before? I guess the ultimate thing I want to understand is, how do you know yes or no?
I use muscle testing. So if you're not familiar with it, like if you just have a very light pressure against your hand and you say yes, that pressure will be strong. And if you say no,
No.
you'll be able to push through it with the same amount of resistance. And that takes some practice, right? So yes, no, yes, no. But the concept of muscle testing is that the body is weak if it tells a lie, and no being a lie. So if I say my name is Dawn, that's strong. My name is Sam, that's weak because it's a lie. So you can use that to test supplements. If you're in a store and you want to know if something's good for you, you know, I just hold it to my chest and see if my body like pulls me towards it or pushes me away from it. There's a lot of types of muscle testing, you know, hundreds really. You can use all sorts of things. And there's great classes on muscle testing, but it opened up a whole world of like, my body already knows what I need. I just ask. Holy crap. That's amazing.
That's miraculous. But are you able to give like a 101 quantum or biochemical or physiological reason that the muscles get weak when there's a lie? Is there like a dummies version of that?
I don't know that I have a good explanation. There probably is one, but
It just feels true is good enough.
the knowledge
but...
of it has been around for 100 years or 1,000 years, or maybe since the beginning of time, right? You just instinctively know, and you're drawn towards the things that are, you know, attractive to your mind, I think. And it's more widely used now than it used to be. So your chiropractor is probably using it on you. He may or may not say that, and you may or may not realize it. And there's more and more naturopaths and like all sorts of people using it now. Yeah. It's becoming mainstream, which is great.
Yeah. Have you learned other equal ways to discern a yes, no beside muscle testing? I'm fascinated by the whole thing, and I know that you practice it a lot. And the people who would be attracted to you and your information are the people who are like, "How does that work?" And what do you, I mean? Like, I've never gone down a rabbit hole with it, but I know people use pendulums, people use muscle, but it all comes from the same thing. It's like,
It's all the same.
Are you in integrity with yourself and God, or is there friction between you and yourself? I call it the gap. Like there's a gap between who we truly are and who we're lying to ourselves about who we ought to be. And the wider the gap, I can feel it in myself when my gap is open. It feels like I'm out of integrity. It feels like I'm lying. And I know that that's the same thing that makes me weak. What are the other ways that either you use or that you know of to discern that yes or no?
As far as muscle testing goes, I mean, you want me to demo one, a different kind?
Yeah.
So I'll just stand up and you can probably still see me. So if I stand sideways and just like, you can just put your arms anywhere, but you just want to be balanced. And if you just think or say yes.
Wait, should I stand up too?
No, I mean, you can.
Oh yeah, falling. Yeah, go ahead.
If you think or say yes, you're gonna feel yourself pull forward. And I had a great example of this the other day. I had a woman come in the office and she had anemia. And I said, really, you don't want iron. Like that's the backwards thinking. You really want copper. And so we talked about it for a while. And at the end of the visit, I have a bunch of supplements in a container on my desk. And I said, here, like I taught her the simple method of muscle testing and it worked for her right away. I was like, great, let's try some things. So I handed her a bottle of iron and her body swayed backwards. So you'll see the same thing. Like if I just think or say no, my body's just gonna like move backwards. So she picked up the iron and she immediately like fell backwards. And then I handed her something. I was like, you don't even know what this is. Just ask your body if it wants it. And it was copper. And she literally like fell over forwards. And I said, yeah, your body wants copper because it's the copper that makes the iron utilize to not be anemic anymore, right? So you just want copper. And she's like, holy crap. Yeah, I do. I definitely do. So, you know, it's just listening to your body. Now, is it 100% accurate? Absolutely not, because you can lie to yourself. And you can expect an answer and not get it. So the classic example was the guy who teaches the emotion code, Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he said, I think their fourth child, they really wanted a girl. His wife had a dream, we're going to have a girl. And so he's muscle testing the gender of the baby before it was born. And every time he muscle tested, yep, it's a girl. Yep, it's a girl. Yep, it's a girl. And he was there at the birth, caught the kid, he's like, this is a boy. And he had been overconfidently lying to himself the entire pregnancy, thinking, yeah, it's a girl. And it took 2 more children before they got the girl that she had dreamed about. But you can lie to yourself.
Okay, let's test this in lifetime. Should you, I don't know how it works. Okay, I'm going to be extremely frank here and authentic. You and I were talking about doing a 3-part podcast series on folic acid and MTHFR polymorphisms and what to eat, what not to eat. But I'm getting a feeling that doesn't excite you anymore, even though you have a lot of knowledge. So
no, I absolutely love folic acid.
Okay.
One of my favorite topics. But the thing about muscle testing is you can't ask questions about the future.
Okay.
You can't ask, is Sally going to fall in love with Johnny? You don't want to go there. You don't want to ask, am I going to?
That's like the 9-ball or what?
Yeah.
No,
what are the
magic.
lottery
Why did I get
numbers?
9-ball? Magic 8-ball.
I've never had any useful answers when I ask anything about the future.
Hence the baby gender. Well, I guess the baby gender is present.
That's actually really accurate because you can just sense the gender. Like that's something the mother's brain knows. So he's essentially asking the mother's brain, is this a girl or is this a boy? But he was so overconfident because of her dream that his brain overcame the real answer to tell him what he wanted to hear. And that's, I think, future questions sort of get in that realm. It wants to make you happy on some level. So it will tell you what you want to hear, whether that's the truth or not.
It's so clear to me how we are born knowing. We are, born with the instincts. We're born with a conscience, not just for moral and ethical things, but also like I kind of lump conscience and instincts all in the same thing, because you can feel this way, that way, that when, and from the moment we understand language, we're told we don't know, that somebody else knows better. I always give the examples because in, my childhood, it was like, clean your plate, 2 more bites of broccoli. But I don't want that, I don't feel that, I'm not hungry anymore, or you've had enough, and then you get into like the more nebulous things like, that's not funny, don't laugh. Apologize when you don't really feel sorry. The kid was a jerk, or there's something that doesn't resonate with that kid, and we're forced to apologize when we don't feel sorry. And why are you dressed for me? Because I was like, my mom used to joke she had 4 boys and I was the only one who grew boobs. I have 3 older brothers, and I just wanted to be around them. I wanted to get dirty. I wanted to play football. I didn't want to play with dolls and the other girls. And then people started saying, why do you dress like that? Why do you dress like boy? And I didn't even know. It's like we start to get sick and sad and stressed. And because we're so we're so dissonant with that voice that knew. And then somewhere in the middle of our lives, there's a call to come home to it. But by that time, it's like, how do you discern whether you're lying to yourself or not? Because you don't know what it feels like to know anymore. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, especially with nutrition, we've kind of gotten away from the ability to know what our body wants. I mean, if you tell your child, eat that last 3 bites and you're not hungry, they get a sense that food is just something to be finished instead of enjoyed. And there's some research out there that says, like, if you let kids serve their own plate, they'll do a really good job and they'll finish their food and they won't overeat and they won't undereat. But if you're just piling food on and forcing them to eat it, their relationship with food is skewed from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've forgotten how to listen. And it's, being distracted with our phone while we're eating, or, just not enjoying the moment. Just enjoy your food, enjoy your walk instead of being distracted by all the things that take you away from it. And I mean, I'm not one to talk. I'm a workaholic in progress. And for me, the hard part has been to find a balance, to go out and get some sunshine instead of working all day, or to go out for a run instead of taking on one more client, or to do the things that nurture me and my health so that I won't burn out and I won't just quit 2 months from now because I can't continue that level.
Do you find it gets easier the more you do that? Is there a reward that makes it more and more obvious that that's the way to go? I guess, like, working from the overflow instead of from depletion.
It's been good for me to be a nutritionist and an athlete, because I know I have to keep working out. I have to keep running, because otherwise I probably wouldn't. I would just work all the time. So it's been good to know I have to have a balance, and I have to go do this because I want to be healthy. Because I went into the ER once for I don't even remember what, and the doctor looked like this. He was so fat. I almost just turned around and left, because I said, I don't care what it is that I need from you. You can't give it to me. You're so unhealthy that you can't help me. And so I have to be healthy, because that's what I help people with. If I wasn't healthy, how could I tell anyone else how to do anything? I can't. I wouldn't want to, because I wouldn't feel like I was worth it. It wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, it's like the old cliche, you wouldn't go to a restaurant called the Skinny Chef or I mean, it's like
Yeah.
So let's stick a pin in, we went nebulous really quickly, but I want to get back a little bit to your first passion, which how it expanded into what you're doing now, when you necessarily needed to know, what does this person need? How do I discern that? And you started learning more and more about that. But let's go back to the nutrition thing. So you were doing extreme marathons, extreme, adventure racing kind of things. You needed to fuel your body and treat it right. And I imagine that because you wanted to do more and better and faster, you had to figure out ways nutritionally how to do that. So go back to when you were in the Army and you did 2 marathons in a month after only having run 6 miles max before. Then what happened?
I think I did my first 2 marathons with the Germans feed you tea along the way. That's about it. I would carry a bag of gummy bears and tea. That's it. I did a whole marathon. I probably did 25 marathons with just that. That's it.
25. What, like, how long did it take you to do 25?
2 years.
Oh my gosh.
I think I've done 103 marathons now, and over 80 Spartan races, and a bunch of, like, an uncountable number of shorter ones. Yeah.
So how did you evolve from, when did you realize that gummy bears and tea weren't cutting it if you wanted to get better? And
yeah, I was in the Army. I had a job with satellite communications, and basically I was just sitting in an office waiting for something to break. So I spent that time studying. So I got my first nutrition certificate, which wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. It was terrible.
Food pyramid.
It was somewhere to start.
Yeah.
And then I always kind of had IBS and gut issues, and I couldn't get rid of them. And one thing led to another. I mean, this is a years long process, but I found oral peptides, BPC 157. And I swear the very first capsule I took, I wasn't allergic to eggs anymore. And my IBS started getting better. I took one and my body said, thank you. And oral BPC 157 is a capsule. It's an oral capsule made in the stomach. So you're just giving your stomach more of what it would make already. It's perfectly safe because it's natural. So I took those. My IBS went away over the course of maybe 6 months, and I didn't ever have egg allergies again. And that was the catalyst to say, I started telling all my friends, and they said, you really need to do this professionally. And it took another few years, but that knowledge was the change that I needed to really start. I thought I knew a lot before, but then I realized I didn't know anything.
Yeah, the more
I'll say that
you learn,
again.
the more you realize you don't know. Well,
Yes.
do what professionally? Because you took BPC, that you can't make a profession and a career out of one supplement. What do you mean?
Well, I had been thinking about doing this, being a nutritionist for a long time. Quite honestly, I knew I didn't know enough to help many people. So I was just going, yeah, I'm not ready yet. I'm going to keep studying. And I did. And then that was the change where I said, okay, I'm actually helping people now. It's not perfect, but it's a start. And then a couple of years later, I finally opened an office, and all I did was just keep writing. Everything I would learn, I would write it down. I'd put it in a folder. I'd start making, connections. And I have all of this information written down now. And so I don't have to remember it. I don't have to try to keep it all in my brain. I just go, oh, you have this. Let me go look at my notes. Okay. All of that. And I love to write. So it was perfect because I could keep myself busy writing newsletters and helping the occasional person who came along, and they would tell someone else and they'd come find me and go from there.
It sounds like you were your first client.
Definitely.
Is that always how it went? Like you found something that you wanted to improve in your own health and your own energy, whether it was physical, emotional, spiritual. It sounds like that you're continuing on that thing, with the emotion code. You first got it for yourself. You couldn't put it down or stop. And now this is your business, or what you do for other people, has evolved to include that.
I was definitely my own best client. So
Yeah.
I've run 200-mile races. One of them was about 10 years ago, and one of them was 2 years ago. And so 10 years ago, it took me 36 hours, and I was a wreck for 3 weeks afterwards. I got myself up off the couch to go to work, but that was it. And then I ran one 2 years ago, and it took me 24 hours. So it was 12 hours faster. I ran the whole way. And when I finished,
12 hours
I'm
faster.
tired. The 12 hours, yeah. So I said, I'm tired. My muscles are sore, but I feel fine. 2 days later, I was like, I feel fine. Like if I wasn't sore, I could run. I just felt good. So I'm setting PRs. I'm 46. I'm setting PRs in every distance in the last year. And that's not something most people say, because they talk about how great of an athlete they were in their 20s or their teens, but they're fat and old and they can't do anything now. No, aging is just a choice, right? You can unage because you can do all the right things and still be faster in your 40s or your 50s. I'll use my husband as an example. He won't be too embarrassed. He's 68. In the last 3 years, he's lost 30 pounds, and he's 30% faster than he was 3 years ago. He's always been a runner, but he was just an average runner. And now he's in the top 5 or 10% of the whole field in a whole race. And he's older than almost all of them. And he feels great, and he sleeps great, and he has energy, and he works out, and his eyesight got better. He used to wear glasses and contacts, and now he doesn't need anything at 68. And that's just getting the right nutrients at the right time to let your body heal.
Yeah, and not getting too many of the wrong ones.
Yeah, right.
Spoiler alert, folic acid.
Yeah, the unnutrients. Yeah. And then as far as like everything's an experiment. So I started the emotion code certification and I tested myself first. And muscle testing told me I had 322 trapped emotions or something like that. And you can't do it all at once because releasing emotions, it's like detox. Your body can't handle too many at once. So 5 or 10 a day, right? And I was like, I'm going to push this as fast as I can. I just want to get them out, like just let go. And so I did it within, I don't know, 45 days or something. It was really fast. But the weird experiment that I didn't realize is I'm a rock climber. I go indoor climbing.
Of course you are.
So I always climb with the same friend. We climbed in July and then life got busy. She was gone. We didn't climb again until November. So between July and November, that's when I got certified. I cleared out my emotions. And so we climbed again in November. And normally I'm a wimpy climber. It's not I like it, but I don't love it. And so I usually climb 2 or 3 climbs and my arms look like claws because my forearms are tired. So this November climb, we went and I climbed a couple climbs and actually skipped a clip lead climbing because I was like having so much fun. I didn't even think about it. And I came down from that climb. I said, I've never done that before. I've never been not fearful enough to like clip it as soon as I can get to it. And I think I climbed 6 climbs that day. And at the end of it, my hands didn't feel too tired and I felt great. And I had to think to myself, how is that possible? I hadn't trained for climbing. I haven't climbed for 4 months. I should be weak and pathetic. And I was better than I ever have been. What changed? In that 4 months, I released a whole bunch of trapped emotions. That's it. That's the change.
Is that what you attribute both your and your husband's kind of, it's a age reversal, it sounds like. I mean, but
Yeah.
you weren't even, you both, the way you described both your stories, you weren't even in that good a shape or that resilient. Your bodies weren't that resilient when you were younger. So it's not even reversing to an a previous age. It's like it's an emergence of natural healing and natural vitality at any age.
Yes.
Because you weren't even there before. It doesn't sound like.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I could do all the things and I looked healthy, but I don't know that I was healthy. I think I've been low on some nutrients since a teenager. I was always anemic. I had a blood transfusion once and like all sorts of things. So you could define aging as the gradual decline of micronutrients. And so if you can find a way to,
I'm going to write that down.
Aging is the gradual decline of micronutrients. So if you can put those micronutrients back into your body and figure out what they are, how much you need, and also like what's interfering with the absorption of them, you can reverse age your body. You can lengthen your telomeres and look and feel young.
Because I keep wanting to stick a pin in something and ask you about it and then keep forgetting because then you can move on to something else I want to ask you on. Aging is the gradual decline of micronutrients. And you just said, if you find out why they're not getting in there. So is that how you can put together? Because I know it's all one thing. I think the mind-body connection is a misnomer because to say that two things are connected means that they're two separate things with a connection, but it's all one thing. And you've talked a lot about nutrition and you've talked a lot about emotion. Can you put that all kind of together? Because you are evidence that it is together and it all works together. But I think that the way in to put it all together for people listening to this is what you just said about what is preventing the micronutrients from getting absorbed. Do trapped emotions play a part in that?
They do. Yeah. So I'll give you a bigger picture. We are energetic beings. So we see our physical body but we've got circuits in our body just like you do in a house, right? So you've got a kitchen circuit and the master bedroom and the garage. And if there's a resistor on a circuit to your kitchen, your light bulb's not going to come on very bright, or you can blow a fuse. So we have that same concept in our body. We call them meridians and chakras. And for some people that sort of brings up like Eastern medicine, like woo-woo, but
I don't think for this crowd.
What's that?
I don't think for people who would be attracted to this,
right,
to this podcast, to this recording, because don't forget, because there's a physical gland associated with each energy center.
Right. Yeah. So I have a lot of clients who are like, I don't know what those are. Okay, great. So a meridian is one half of a chakra. So a meridian is sort of like your liver is out, your gallbladder is in, and together that's your root chakra, right? So we have all these circuits flowing in our body, and we need good energy. Those electrons flowing through our body is energy, right? And so there's 5 reasons why we could have low energy. And one of them, the big one, is trapped emotions. Another one are scars and tattoos. So if you've had a big surgery or breast implants or whatever, or tattoos, if you're covered in tattoos, like that flow of electrons is reduced on some level because electrons flow along your fascia. So you're cutting your fascia or putting tattoos on it. So that's 2 of them. Then the third one is root canals. So root canals are a huge issue for some people. And it's sort of like the only place in your body where we think leaving dead tissue is a great idea. I mean, you wouldn't get a gallbladder removed and leave the gallbladder in your body. And so root canals can have this really big source of resistance and infection. And 90% of cancer patients have a root canal. It's very clear correlation. And the first thing a lot of cancer centers do is say, go get your root canals out. Like, let's remove that resistance so that your voltage can flow better. Because often a root canal tooth is the circuit where you're going to get cancer, right? Mm-hmm. And because every tooth is connected to meridians. Okay, so that's 3 of them. And then the other 2 are micronutrients and toxins. So I haven't completely lost my roots because there's still part of it. And so micronutrients are a big part. You need them, especially thyroid, like iodine, selenium, copper, that kind of thing. And then you figure out toxins, right? So what is preventing me from absorbing those nutrients? Like take aluminum. It interferes with at least 6 different minerals. And like think of a key in a lock. So aluminum can fit in a lot of locks, but you put the key in, it won't turn it, right? So if you need magnesium and you've got aluminum, you can't turn the key to unlock it. And if you have aluminum, then the key unlocks and your body works great. So toxins are just a bunch of stuff filling slots that it shouldn't, and then preventing uptake of nutrients that you really do need.
Wow. There's a that's a big picture. No, that's a great big picture because it kind of gives us it's kind of reformulated the way I want to do our series, with you, but not just on one thing, but like bringing, because that was a really beautiful explanation about how it all works together. And I think with your breadth of knowledge, it would be really cool to bring it all together for people, like in each, not just doing mind, body, spirit, like how this part works together. And since I'm coming out to you, I would like to be a client. I think that would be a really cool thing to do because I've got all those things. I've got breast implants, I've got tattoos, I've got root canals, I've got micronutrient. I mean, I've always found that in any kind of sports, any kind of emotion, really, I can push the shit out of myself. I remember going on a 28 mile, 32 mile hike. You've probably done it before. It's probably like a walk in the park for you, but Buckskin Gulch through Pariah Canyon. It's like what, like yeah, it's beautiful. And I was not in shape. There was a Marine marathon runner with us. He was a PA, it was just a bunch of healthcare professionals. There was 6 of us who went, and they were all in great shape. And I thought that I was just like no problem. And they were all like, the Marine marathon runner was like on death's door because we ran out of water, and long, fun story. Very, very exciting adventure. But I've always just found myself more resilient than anybody else. And because of that, and pain tolerance, like wicked high, emotional pain, physical pain, and I could just push myself. But I'm just turned 50, and it's like the chickens are coming home to roost. Like, and it's nothing that I know. It's all sense. This house of cards is about to fall down, and I love to go down rabbit holes of research and understand, but it's all head knowledge. I'm really not. And I know that a lot of my blockages are, oh my gosh, all this stuff that I have in my head of what I should be doing and the knowledge I should have, it's too big to implement. It's like I'm too far gone. I'm too into the habits I have. So I would love to go on a journey with you and do this thing together, because I just think you have so much. You're a living example of your knowledge. You walk your talk. It's inspiring. It's a bit intimidating, but for me, it's like I just am feeling like you're the person. You're the person.
Right.
You're so easy to talk to. You have, I think I could really understand why we're doing what we're doing, and I think it would be really cool.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I had 2 root canals removed, and now I have implants, and I wear an Oura ring. So
Yeah.
it measures HRV and heart rate, and those are the big ones for me: breathing rate, sleep patterns, that kind of thing. But I've been wearing it for 6 years, and one of those root canals came out in the last 6 years, and my heart rate immediately went down 5 beats a minute at night on average. So it was this, something clicked, and I said, that infection, because it was smelly and black when they pulled it out, they're like, oh yeah, it was infected. That was an immediate, holy crap, like that had an effect on my body that I wasn't expecting. And like, that's the metric. I'm always looking, just like, what is this going to do when I try it? And if you think of meridians and chakras, right? So you can show this, but so this is the pendulum I use. Like, so every morning I just wake up and I check my meridians: gallbladder, liver, sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic, lung, large intestine, heart, small intestine, stomach and spleen, bladder. And so it's rotating and it's telling me they're all healthy. But if I wake up and I just don't feel quite right, one of those is not going to be healthy. One of those is not going to have good voltage. And if I would wake up and not have one very happy, and I'd go for a run, I would feel like crap on that run, because the other 7 chakras are going to have to donate energy to the one that's not happy. And think of it like a battery. Like, have you ever had a rechargeable battery? Occasionally occasionally you put them in, you recharge them, and they won't charge anymore and they're dead. You throw them away. So that rechargeable battery that won't charge anymore has flipped polarity. And that's essentially what our body is doing in a circuit that's not happy. It's flipping a polarity from negative to positive. And if you have a flip polarity, that's chronic pain, chronic tiredness, cancer growth. So you have to figure out, like, why is this circuit? And for me, it's always gallbladder, liver. Like, if I don't feel good, I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to be that one. It's very rarely something else. So do I have a trapped emotion in that circuit and those acupuncture points? Do I have an infection somewhere? Do I have an injury somewhere? Do I have a lack of micronutrients in that spot? Do I have some toxins stored in that circuit? Hard to know. But
well, can you muscle test for answers to those questions?
Yeah. And I also have scalar energy. So it's very hard to define scalar energy. It's like the invisible energy of the universe. If you believe in God, like Jesus was the perfect example of scalar energy. Like people could think about him and they would be healed. They could touch the hem of his cloak and be healed. Like if I had perfect scalar energy, I could just, touch someone and they'd feel amazing, right? I don't have that, but scalar energy is just the energy that helps your body change the polarity to be healthy, right? So I have a device that can do that. There's plenty of them out there. But so if I wake up and I don't feel great, I just turn my scalar energy on for 5 minutes and then I go for a run, because then I know my polarities are happy and I'll have a great run.
Oh, that's so amazing. Okay. Are you okay on time if I ask
Yeah.
you a couple more questions? Okay.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. I want to kind of give everybody a sense of what it's like to work with you. So you're totally unorthodox. You just basically created a practice out of what interests you and what you found helped you, and then are sharing it with other people. Like, and I meant unorthodox, and it's a compliment in the best way, because orthodox isn't helping many people. It's just adding more and more pills and surgeries and things like that. So number one, I want to find out what it's like to work with you, like what your unique way of practicing is like, and then a couple of wins that that clients have had with you, whether it's something simple that you just tweaked and it would like totally change somebody's life, or a very complicated, whatever you decide. So first, when somebody hears about you and you take them on as a client, how do you work with them?
I still go back to the basics. I think they're important. So I take a big, long health history before they come in and get a chance to review it before I see them. And then I have a device called an Oligoscan. So it's photospectrometry. Every element has a light associated with it. And so it just takes a scan of 4 points of your palm, and it's instant scan. We're done in 30 seconds. All you really need to know is your blood type. And it returns 44 different levels of minerals, vitamins, and heavy metals. And so it's a snapshot of what's going on inside your body. And you can't measure that with blood, hair, or urine. You can try, but I'll use copper for an example. You can do a blood test for copper, but there's only 1% of the copper in your body is in your blood. So you're doing a blood test on 1% of the total. And so if that 1% is high or low, it doesn't change the other 99%, which you can't measure. So this can measure things that just are either really hard to measure or really expensive to measure with other methods. And it's a relatively cheap test. And I can look at the results right away and go, okay, let me correlate this with your health history. And here's some supplements that are targeted to just what you need. And then I go back to the basics with people, and nobody wants to hear it, but eat liver, eat organ meats. Why are we so unhealthy? What's that?
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But why are we so unhealthy? Because 2 or 3 or 4 generations ago, we stopped eating the foods that we've eaten since the beginning of time. Organ meats, right? We didn't kill a cow and just eat the steak. We were lungs, liver, heart, intestines, all the organs, like everything we could put in a pot, we ate. And what is the repercussions of that? We stopped eating kidney, and now a ton of people have allergies. We stopped eating brain, and we have brain issues. Like we stopped eating heart, and we have heart issues. So by eating the organ of the body part that we have issues with, we can heal our own body. And it has the nutrients in it that we need. And it also has peptides. The peptides that are individual and unique to every organ. So I spend a lot of the first hour talking about those things and what to get out of the diet. I'm a nutritionist, but I don't really talk about food. That's not important to me because it's not really germane to health. You can eat a wide variety of foods and be healthy. And so I'm not going to tell you one diet's better than another. But I do spend a good amount of time talking to people about enriched flour and folic acid because that is the biggest issue and the biggest, quickest change in like 10 different health conditions. So that's a good part of the first hour. And if we have time, I mean, I just tell people like, you own me for an hour, whatever we want to do is great. And so if we have time, I do an emotion code session. If they have a lot of chronic pain or some specific thing, we can do that. And until I added all of this energy stuff, I really just said like one visit, and then I give you 10 pages of personalized recommendations and you run with it. Like you don't need me anymore. You don't have to. But now with the energy work, I have to reluctantly say, like, you should probably come back a couple of times and do some body code or emotion code or whatever else, some scalar energy, that kind of thing.
Do you find that when people start clearing their emotions, getting some micronutrients that they've been really lacking, that the reason that they don't have to come back, but now you have the toolbox for them to come back, and how good can it get? But before that, 10 pages of personal recommendations sent them on their way. Once they started feeling better, did they get more in touch with their own discernment, that thing that we lost when we were kids?
I don't know. I don't, it's sort of.
Did your husband, like people that you know and you're close to, when they start feeling better, are they, like it's like getting past the whitewater when you go surfing or when you go out, like there's the waves coming to the shore that are they're the rough part. And once you get past it, it's kind of smooth sailing. Do you find that once they start feeling a little bit better, that it's easier for them to get better and better? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can think about it like a log jam. When they used to run logs down the river, like there'd be one that would get stuck and it would make everything else get stuck. And if you find that one log and you release that one thing and it starts flowing, everything else will start moving too. So I tell my clients, like, my goal is to make you healthier so that you can accomplish your goals. If you can't feel good and you can't be energetic, what are you going to accomplish in life? Not as much as you could if you were feeling better. And that's my goal.
The artistry of common sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been, I mean, I don't advertise. All of my clients come word of mouth through previous clients. So that says something that I'm more or less still in business, and
well, that's
finding me.
It's good also if you have a propensity for overworking yourself, like I told you, my word for God is George. It's like George just sends you exactly what you need at the pace that yes. You'll be really good at it.
I find that if I want a few more, I just pray about it. And if I'm really busy that week, I'm like, God, please don't send me anybody. I can't handle it this week. And nobody comes. So, yeah.
Well, Dawn, I'm excited to be there this weekend. Stay on after this and I'll see what your time schedule is like. And then I come back in January because my daughter Lucia is starting at University of Utah.
Nice.
So I'll be back I'll already plan a follow-up.
All right.
But this has been such a great, and I love that the more this hour passed, I started to see how to introduce you and your knowledge and keep it in a package. The way you see the world is really cool. And it's the Trojan horse for the learning and the education to get in. So I'm really excited that this is the first of a couple. I don't even know how many. We'll see. I'm gonna be your guinea pig, and I might, I don't know. I might keep you on staff or something. I don't know.
Sounds great.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned, everybody. We're gonna have more with Karen and Dawn in the near future. Bye.
I love it.
Renegades.